So, like a lot of you, I've been playing a lot of Shadowlands, and that got me wondering about the Mythic Plus cache from BFA and its new replacement, the Great Vault. And as a result, I went and did a little bit of research on how the Great Vault works, and there's actually a little bit more to it than I think a lot of people realise. So I thought I'd bring this guide out for you so you don't end up getting screwed over next week when you go to collect your reward and find that it's either underwhelming or simply not there at all. So I thought we'd dive into it with what you can get and how you go about getting it. So let's dive into it. So straight off the bat, the first thing you're going to want to know is what is the Great Vault. Now, the Great Vault replaces your Mythic Dungeon weekly cache, as well as also if you were a PvPer, that PvP cache that you were able to get as well for your weekly performance, and combines it into one, as well as also providing rewards for your performance in raids. Now, it does work a little bit differently than how that worked in the past, in the sense that you no longer have two options. You're not going to have a chest for Mythic Plus and a chest for your PvP performance. You are instead just going to be able to get one reward regardless of what content you do. Now, this isn't to say that there isn't value in doing multiple forms of content, as you are able to get more options to select from based on what you do. That's right, the randomness has gone, at least been mitigated, and you are now able to select a reward from a series of randomly generated rewards. Now, the item level of the reward that you get, as well as how many options you have to select from, are based off of the content that you have done in the previous week. Now, a lot of you will already know this, but what a lot of you might not know is the intricacies of how it works with regards to the combination of those two things. So, the simple rule of thumb is that the number of options you have to select from is going to be dictated by how much you have played, i.e. how much of your Mythic Dungeons raids and PvP you have done. The item level, however, is going to be dictated by how high of a standing you were able to achieve in PvE or PvP in that week. So I thought we'd break down each one individually and talk about how you go about improving what you're going to get from those different areas of the game. Now let's start off with the one that most of us are accustomed to getting a weekly reward for, and that is our Mythic Dungeons. Now, as you can see, there are 3 rewards in the row for Mythic Dungeon completion, and at face value, it's pretty easy to understand how you unlock each one. So they say on the tooltips, complete 1 Mythic Dungeon, complete 4, and complete 10. And in a very basic view, that is all you need to do. However, where the complexity comes into it is with regards to your item level of your reward. The item level of your reward is still dictated by the level of Mythic Plus that you achieved in the previous season. This works just as it has done always, where the Mythic item level that you get from this weekly reward is going to be slightly higher than what you would have got in your end of dungeon run, and increases every 2 levels. So, in week 1 of Mythic Plus season, if you are watching this, you will be able to achieve an item level 226 item if you are able to get a Mythic Plus dungeon completed at level 14 or higher. But if you want to have options of getting a certain item level of item from here, you are going to need to complete at least 4 at that same standing. This is because your second slot, the one that requires the 4 dungeons completed, will give you a reward that is item level appropriate to your 4th best score. So if you do a plus 14, but your next 3 after that are at level 10, your option in that second slot will be appropriate to if you had done just the level 10 dungeon and in your first slot. Similarly, with your 10 slot, it is your 10th best run that will dictate the item level that you have got. So at the time of recording, my best dungeon run is a plus 8, however my 10th best is still only a plus 2 because I haven't done very many. So as a result, my first item level reward is going to be, I think it's 210 item level. If I were to select from that first slot, I think I'm looking at around 207 for my 4th because I have completed a plus 6 as my 4th best, but down to plus 2 for my 10th slot, meaning that my reward is around the 200 item level mark. Now, I am going to admit I'm doing those numbers off the top of my head. They may not be exactly right, but that is the premise of how it works with regards to the item levels that you will achieve in your Mythic Cache for your dungeons from the Great Vault. Now, moving on, the next simplest one to understand is going to be the raids. This works much the same, just instead of number of dungeons completed, you are going to be looking at the number of bosses killed within the raid, with it requiring 3 bosses for your first slot, 7 for your second, and 10 for your third. Much the same as the Mythic Plus that we discussed previously, the item level here is going to mirror what you get from the standing of raid that you have completed. So unlike Mythic Plus, where you will get a slightly higher item level than what you would have got from the dungeon end loot chest, the raids will provide you with a piece of gear from the same level as what you managed to complete. So, if you clear the entirety of the raid on normal, that'll be 10 bosses, and you will have unlocked all 3 slots, and all 3 slots will potentially provide you with the same normal Castle Nathria loot item level that you would have got from within the raid, with the possibility of the loot that you get being from the last boss who has a slightly higher item level. If, however, you complete the entire raid on normal and then the first 3 bosses on heroic, your first slot will be of item level appropriate to heroic, and the 2 after being from item level that is appropriate to normal. The only other thing, however, that you need to be aware of with the raids is that the loot table is only from the bosses that you have killed. So in the example I just gave you, the first slot that would be at the heroic item level would also only provide you with loot from those first 3 bosses that you were able to kill, i.e. you will not be getting loot from the raid section of the Great Vault for bosses that you did not kill and have the chance of that loot already from the previous week. Now finally, and most complexly I must admit, is the PvP section. This could be because I'm not a PvP main, but it's also because it has more variables than the other 2 in my opinion. So it's relatively easy to understand how you go about unlocking these slots for the Great Vault from the PvP section, simply earning an amount of honour equivalent to the values that are given on screen for your rated PvP performance. Now, rated PvP performance, it does mean that you are going to do either ranked arena matches or rated battlegrounds. However, do note it does say Honor Gain, not Conquest, which has been confusing a lot of people. i.e. for that first slot, if you are able to do 2 rated battlegrounds, you will unlock that first slot of your PvP rewards row, providing that you were able to win at least one of them, and progressing further will unlock the other rewards in the row. Now, when it comes to your item level, however, this can be a little bit confusing as all the listed information only relates to arena, or at least that I've been able to find. Now, your rating in these ranked versions of PvP is what dictates the item level of your reward that you're going to be getting. However, it is not simply the rating that you have achieved, but the rating that you were able to get a victory at in that particular game mode, i.e. if you get yourself to 1800 rating and then don't play, you will get a reward from the bracket lower. You would have to get to 1800 rating, play another game, and then win it. That is what would dictate the item level to be higher than what you would have otherwise got. As for the actual rating requirements, according to the tooltip listed here, when I am at an incredibly low rating in RBGs, having only achieved 1 win this season so far, it does state that the rewards actually don't start at unranked, which they do. So providing you hit the honour bracket, you will get a reward in that first slot. And it then goes up from 1500 to the next bracket, and I believe it goes in multiples of 200 from there. Please do not quote me on that. It's been difficult to get the RBG information. If you are doing this in Arena, it does go up with the various ranks such as Duelist that a lot of people are aiming for that lovely transmog in the playset. But it is how it works in that you do need to get a win at the rating that you wish the item level appropriate reward to be in your PvP tab. Now hopefully that has shed some insight onto the Great Vault. The last little tip I want to give you is that there is a quest to pick up to receive a reward from the Great Vault, so please do not miss out on that. It is right next to the Great Vault, so probably not going to happen, but it is worth mentioning because it does have some nice rewards to it. But beyond that, guys, I hope that you have enjoyed your first week of the Shadowlands season, be you a PvP, Mythic Plus or Raid main, and I hope you get what you're after in your Great Vault. But for now, guys, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Later.